This is a battle in the Use It and Lose It tournament. We have Granitor coming up against Blood Leopard. Arverni versus Tylis. Some of you might not agree with this, but I think Tylis versus any of the other barbarian factions is an interesting matchup because Tylis doesn't have any affordable melee cavalry, and they have to use their raiding horsemen instead as dual purpose cavalry. So there are 4 raiding horsemen, there are 4 levy freemen, very standard stuff. Then there are Oathsworn on the flanks, tribal warriors center, 1 more Oathsworn, and a light horse of all things. Gallo Thracian infantry, I quite like that unit. It's not a great unit, but it's a unit that can do some damage under the right circumstances, sort of buffed up Celtic warriors. Then we have Oathsworn, 1 more Oathsworn. He is of course a strategist, and in the center we have 3 Celtic slingers. For Arverni we have a heavy horse, and that's the sort of the deciding factor here. How well is the heavy horse used? Because the chosen swords, no match for the tribal warriors. And Oathsworn, those 2 units, depending on who gets the charge and who gets the better engagement. So we have Celtics, Chosen, Oathsworn. And what you usually see happen is that with Tylis, I don't know if Tylis picked the map here. If they did, a good job, because their entire part of the battlefield is forested, which is going to make it a lot easier for Tylis to deal with the heavy horse of Arverni, because these battles, if players are of equal skill, these battles usually come down to who is able to make the best use of their cavalry. So if both infantry engagements, happen on equal ground, both just charge in, then it's time for the cavalry to decide the battle. And in this particular case, what is a bit risky here is that the center is kind of open. Only single line here with levy free support. That could be a problem, but in this forest it might not be, because heavy horse in the forest, they will still do damage, but it's nothing like eating a face full of heavy horse in the open. So the mercenary Thracian cavalry, and why a mercenary Thracian cavalry, I wonder? The mercenary variety of the Thracian cavalry is much worse than the raiding horse, and much worse than the Thracian horsemen that you can get when you are the Odrysian kingdom, but alright. Pulling away now from the flanks here. This is almost like what you'd expect if Arverni was facing a pike line, splitting up, holding the center, going up and trying to surround. So Arverni is going very wide. It might make it hard to micro. Tylis going a lot more concentrated at the center, just pulling away. And I'm sure Tylis wants the engagement to happen in the forest. This is interesting. Gallo Thracians against Celtics and levy free. The Gallo Thracians will murder anything low tier in the sword department. They are more expensive, of course. They are a bit low on the morale for their price. But their charge bonus of 32 is very good. So here the Celtic slingers have taken quite the beating from these Celtic slingers, and of course these guys are in the forest here. So now the heavy horse is trying to scout them out here, and this might be a mistake. Now they're taking some fire from precursors by the levy freeman. Levy freeman already with 6 kills here. It looks like the levy freemen are going to be able to get the charge. Oh, just barely missed there. Barely missed. Over here as well, the heavy horse is taking a lot of damage, so Tylis is certainly getting the better of the engagements thus far. The levy freeman even baiting some precursors from the Oathsworn here. So this is charging in like this blindly is very risky, very risky. So the Oathsworn get the charge on this Oathsworn. This Oathsworn does not get a charge. This is not looking good for Arverni. Oathsworn versus Chosen Swords, yeah, they're going to win there. Tribals versus Chosen Swords, just doing a lot of damage here. Tribals being sent in as second line against these Oathsworn. Arverni is moving up on the flank though. They have completely flanked, so the central engagement was not good for Arverni at all. Look at the Oathsworn, 10 kills here, and let's see, the other Oathsworn has 35, so that's the difference between getting a charge and not getting a charge. Gallothracians winning here against Celtic Warriors, but Relentless is being used, increasing the attack value of all the units. Heavy Horse just smashing through the Levy Freeman with Frenzy Charge. Might be a bit overkill to use Frenzy Charge against Levy Freeman, but... Ooh, nicely done here with the Heavy Horse. Moving in towards the skirmishers, but there's always that unit of Levy Freeman, so the Heavy Horse has dropped, lost a lot of men, and it's continuing through here into the Celtic Slingers, and could also continue through into the back of this engagement. But I think the Thailand units, Tribals losing decisively against Oathsworn. Now the Tribals are losing here, that's very interesting. Might be because of Relentless there, making turning the battle in favor of the Chosen Swords, because that's one of the things that the Tribal Warriors lack. They have a very poor melee attack. Very good melee defense, very poor melee attack. Just a tanky unit. There are quite a few units left for Tylis here in the forest. It's always annoying when you have to engage something in the forest. Levy Freemen just running in, throwing their javelins, and this is how they neutralize cav units. Now they are disorganized, and yeah, they did a massive amount of damage to that Heavy Horse. Levy Freeman, the cheapest life insurance you can get. Here as well, trying to get into the Levy Freeman here, and the Levy Freeman just do so much damage. So not your usual barbarian brawl this. Mostly because of the terrain, I think. So unity of the tribes, increasing the morale of the Arverni units, trying to make them hold a bit longer. Tylis won the central engagement there as expected. The Oathsworn general is holding off against the tribal warriors, but they are only losing that combat slightly. Oathsworn here being attacked from multiple angles and getting spanked. But I am seeing a lot more full strength Tylis than I am seeing Arverni. Heavy Horse taking a bit of fire here from the Mercenary Thracians and the Raiding Horse, and they rush in to support this fight. They don't have a bonus versus cavalry, so it's a bit wasteful using them like this, but it will allow them to stop this unit. It's exhausted, so it won't be able to pull out. And at this point, things are looking quite good for Tylis, so being a bit wasteful isn't necessarily a bad thing in the late game if you know that you have what you have what you need to win your engagements. Like here we have Tribals and Oathsworn fighting up against the Oathsworn of Arverni, and they are about to break. The general recently died actually, with 50 men remaining in the unit. So that's a bit of bad luck as well for Arverni, but I still think that at this point there wasn't much Arverni could do. Arverni has the cavalry advantage, nothing else. Tylis has the infantry advantage, and the cavalry advantage is so easily taken away by a few units of Levy Freemen in the forest, and that's what happened here. That plus a central engagement. Anytime you rush into a forest, it can be a bit sketchy because there can be hidden units coming into to ambush. So the central engagement wasn't good for Arverni. Still ammo left for these guys. And now they can go for the Celtic Slingers here. And Oathsworn holding valiantly here, but Arverni is about to break due to army losses. So these skirmish cavalry units just haven't been dealt with at all, mostly. Costly victory there for Tylis, so Blood Leopard takes it, and let's see how many Oathsworn there were. 3 Oathsworn on each side, 4 tribal warriors, and the Gallo-Thracians actually did reasonably well. So we have 3 elite swords, 5 mid-tier swords for Tylis versus 3 elite swords, 4 mid-tiers, and 1 low-tier sword. That's advantage to Tylis. And as you can see, the difference between these armies has to be made up by the cavalry of Arverni, and it wasn't able to do that on that particular map. It was the odds were stacked against Arverni from the start. Tylis is overall a stronger faction, and especially on a map where cavalry is hard to use. So let's see what happens in game number 2, Strength and Honor.